So thank you all for joining today. For today's Get to Know session is Bizzell Memorial Library. They're on the Norman campus. So I think many times when we think of library, it's the building filled with books, right? And that's where you go maybe to do some research. But I think it's great that, nowadays libraries really are so much more than that, and all the various ways they can help us with our overall well-being, quite honestly. So really appreciate Kendall Morgan joining us from Bizzell on the Norman campus this morning to kind of introduce us a little bit more about Bizzell that maybe we're not familiar with. So thank you, Kendall.
Thank you. I'm sorry I keep clicking slides. I'm trying to figure out how to start closed captioning. Can everyone else see it now? Or did I not do it correctly? All right. Hopefully that captioning is visible to everyone. So as Lindsay said, I'm Kendall. I work at Bizzell Memorial Library. I am new here. I started in May. I'm the STEM instruction librarian. We can talk a little bit about what that means later. But essentially, Bizzell is one of multiple libraries we have on the OU Norman campus. Bizzell is sort of like our main hub, though. So our other libraries are branch libraries that are more subject specific, and then we have some special collections as well. But I will say, like I said, Bizzell is very much the hub. And so this photo down below shows kind of what the building looks like. There is many parts to this library. There were multiple renovations that were done over the years. And so ultimately, I break it down into three parts. The part that was built in 1929, the part that we're looking at in this picture is the section that was built in the 1980s. And then there's a section kind of behind here that was built in the 1950s. And what that adds up to is a library with 7 floors. 2 of them are underground. So that's a little about our physical space. Talking about Wellbeing Awareness Month, as Lindsay mostly said, a lot of people do think the traditional library when you first hear it. And the library has changed a lot, especially since the birth of the internet. One thing that hasn't changed is that when you walk into a library, you should be welcomed by staff who are approachable. That's something we really like to emphasize at Bizzell, especially to new students coming to campus. We try to visit every class that freshmen are required to take, so that we can demonstrate to the first years, not only is this physical space a place where you're welcome to, but please feel comfortable asking us questions. We're here to help, that sort of thing. And so what I kind of wanted to get at in terms of the library and how it's an evolving atmosphere is that what you'll often hear is that the library is like a third place. And what people often mean by that is that the library is a place where you can work on stuff for school, but you're not in class. You could work on something that purely interests just you. You could come and just need a place to sit, and it's a safe spot for you to sit comfortably. So here we have pictured, actually, this picture on the right is from one of our branch libraries, but in all of our libraries, we have group study areas, but we also have individual study areas. And once again, there's not going to ever be a staff member who's walking around like making sure you're doing work. If you attend a class for the library, or if you have a librarian visit your class to teach, no one's going to be grading you. And so it's sort of that idea of self-driven learning, but also comfort and approachability, that same sort of pillar. And so The library also has spaces dedicated to that sort of idea of like, you don't even have to be coming to the library to be doing something academic. You are welcome here during our open hours at all times. On the left, this is a picture, and unfortunately, it does say reflection room, but the type is kind of small. But this is a picture of the library's reflection room. Some people will also call this a meditation room. This is on the second floor of Bizzell. If you're ever in our physical space, this is where the name really the name really accomplishes the purpose of the space. But essentially, this is where you can come for a more private, more quiet space for prayer or meditation or whatever you need in that space. And this image on the right, I said that our library had 7 floors. It has 7 floors, and 2 of those floors are underground. What's fun is in that 1980s section from the picture before, there is what we call the Canyon Garden. And that is underground. It's like a sunken garden. And when you're on the lowest level on that second underground floor, this is a student studying outside the Canyon Garden, but you are also welcome to walk in there. It's a very inspiring space, and my favorite part of the Canyon Garden is that there is a very wise mother duck who kind of cracked the code and realized there's a little pond down there, and so she has raised many broods of ducklings in the Canyon Garden, and that is always a treat when there's baby ducks crawling around in there. All right, so the library also exists to connect people to resources for free. And like I said, the library's changed a lot since the dawn of the internet. And so one of those things that we are really focused on is giving you more than just books or articles. We have loanable technology, and same idea. It doesn't have to be an academic purpose. You're never going to have a librarian be like, you can't check this out until you tell me why. So here are some pictures of some examples of what we offer. Down on the left here is the 3D printing studio, part of our library's makerspace. This is completely free to OU students, staff, and faculty. So that is a wonderful resource, and we do print often things for academic purposes, whether it's like bones for anatomy classes or whatnot. But people will also submit print requests for Dungeons and Dragons figurines, and once again, it's free. So taking that barrier away and just supporting creativity in that manner. Some of the other technology that the library offers is 3D printing, 3D scanning. In addition to our 3D printing, we do photogrammetry, which is what's pictured up on the top left. As well, we have loanable technology. So there are some wonderful, nice cameras. I'm not a photographer. I believe they're nice cameras. I don't know if they're like, I honestly don't know what kind of camera they are, but I know that they're the fancy kind where you need to know all the buttons. And we'll also loan podcasting kits, and we have a recording studio in the library. So, and then on the right here, we do have virtual reality in the library as well. And so supporting both those creative endeavors, but also just trying to remove barriers to new kinds of technology. And as well as that, maybe not a new kind of technology, maybe just a bare necessities kind of technology. The library does loan out chargers for your phone, for your laptop, and the library has it up here on the top right, this photo demonstrates someone passing a laptop off. We now have a laptop vending machine. So that is a sort of fun thing. You can check out a computer from the library. One other thing, if you're facing limited internet connection, the library also allows hotspot checkouts. So they're sort of like mini, almost like Wi-Fi router things, but it's just a little hotspot for you to use so that you can have internet connection for free. We offer programs and workshops. I wasn't able to get any pictures from finals week, but I personally think that finals week is one area where Bizzell focuses on student well-being often. We'll have therapy dogs in the library, which is always fun for students who need a break from studying. But we'll also have a sort of like break room with, I actually believe maybe this picture on the right is during finals week. We'll set up VR in there and people can do meditation VR, or coloring book, other activities to just soothe and take your mind off of the stress of finals week. I also have listed our workshop, Nightmare on Research Street. This is a workshop where researchers come and are welcome to share a story where some sort of failure happened during their research, whether that's they forgot to back up their data or I don't know. I can't think of another example. But so essentially, Nightmare on Research Street is a space where we come and you're welcome to talk about mishaps, but also we're all learning from each other and we have pizza. And so that is another example of a library event. Oh, and then of course the library has books. What you're looking at here though is a little bit different from the rest of our collection. We have our regular circulating collection, sort of that traditional idea of checking out a book from the library. This shelf is actually the take one, leave one shelf though. And this is an area in the library where if you've ever seen one of those mini library little, like they almost look like birdhouses around town. This is that idea where there's more leisurely reading and you can take one and you don't have to check it out. It's your book now, but please leave one as well. And across from that, on this shelf, kind of hard to see, but this is what we call the leisure reading section. And so I believe this is curated by a list that we get monthly from the New York Times of popular books now. But so essentially, if you're ever in the library and just not in the mood for rigorous reading, we do have a lot of books for fun as well. All right, and this is a picture of the other entrance to the library, the 1929 entrance. So it'll look a little different depending on what door you're entering through. That is what I have for today. Does anyone have any questions?
Kendall, a great introduction. And while we wait, if there's any questions that want to be dropped in the chat. So who would be eligible? I know students, of course, but is this open to anybody in the OU community, really specifically Norman campus, OU community, who's eligible to access resources or, all this, some wonderful things that you've kind of gone over today?
Absolutely. So our online resources, the sort of things like databases, I believe that's Norman specific. And OU, like the health sciences campus, will have their own proxy or subscription that gets those students in. As far as checkout, good question. I might have to I just don't want to give incorrect information, to be honest. Physically checking out one of those loanable technologies works in the same system as checking out a book. And my understanding is that students from other campuses are capable of checking out books at OU, Norman, as long as you have your Sooner ID card. But I don't know if that extends to the technology or not. So I hopefully will be responded to. I'm going to reach out really fast and ask. Do we have questions in the chat?
Yeah, it looks like, so you mentioned about renting the hotspots. Is this also available for faculty, staff as well, or is that more just students?
That is absolutely available for faculty and staff as well.
Awesome. And then your hours of operation, open hours, what is that? Monday through Friday, Sunday through Saturday? What do those hours look like?
So we are open until midnight on weekdays. We have, let's go. We are open until 9 p.m. on Fridays. 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Saturdays. We'll be closed on any like regular holidays. But on weekdays, 7:30 a.m. to 12 a.m. And this page, are you able to see the page that I pulled up?
It still has your slides right now.
Oh, okay. Well, all of those branch libraries that I mentioned, they have slightly different hours. But Bizzell during weekdays, 7:30 a.m. to 12 a.m. And on weekends, closing at 9 p.m. except on Sundays, we still close at midnight.
Excellent. And I'll be sure in that follow-up email to include the links to the websites and stuff so awesome. Everyone can easily access that pretty quickly. And where are the leisurely reading books located? Which floor do you know, or kind of general area space?
The slide here, the leisurely books are actually behind here too. So I mentioned that we have 2 underground floors. That second floor underground is designated more towards advanced research. Like that's where our data services unit is housed, and it's also like faculty only study rooms. The floor above that, the first lower level 1 is what we call it. That is more undergraduate oriented, and the learning lab is housed there, and that is where the leisure reading books are. Actually, if you've been to Bizzell, it's right across from the coffee shop on that floor. We have a place called the Bookmark, which is cute. But that is apparently, I learned recently, it's the most visited Starbucks in the state of Oklahoma. So there's another little resource down there. But the coffee's not free, sadly.
Hey, but important to know where the coffee shops are located, yes, right? So that's very important to know that there's a coffee shop, Starbucks there in Bizzell. So fantastic. And then is there a way to request the purchase of books or materials?
There is. Let me see if I can switch how I'm sharing my screen, because I think I specifically shared it just as PowerPoint. So essentially, if you're ever in the library's catalog, and the library catalog is a resource that, all right, how's that? Are we seeing?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The library catalog right here is a resource that anyone can search within. Whether or not you have access, you can at least start your search here. And then, like I said, we should still be able to get you access to things that are physical, but maybe not always things that are online. I don't know a book that we don't have, but essentially I'll just To Kill a Mockingbird. I know we definitely have this book, but essentially every time you're clicking on a book or resource in the catalog, request this item via Sooner Express is popping up here because we do have this book, but this is where it would pop up to fill one of those requests if we didn't have the book. And so that'll link to an online form that automatically populates, and then you can request that the library purchase a book for you.
Excellent. And then I believe, I know you mentioned the meditation space, but also isn't there a lactation room there at Bizzell?
There is, yes. I wasn't able to find it myself, like I was walking around looking for it. But I know it's in here. I just couldn't get a picture of it. I'm sorry. But yes, we do have a lactation room, and if you walk in and ask someone at the front desk, they will absolutely be able to tell you where it is.
Wonderful. Yes, thank you. And I know someone also mentioned that they had a chance to visit the library the other day and was quite impressed. And so really, really appreciate it, and the extra information you shared with us today. Another one just pops in. Can staff check out the private rooms? So like reserve those private rooms as well?
Yes, so we do have certain rooms that like staff can check out, but students can't check out as well. So staff has a good selection, I'd say, of rooms to reserve.
Wonderful. I think that we have covered the questions that have come through, but absolutely, if anything else pops up, be sure in that follow-up email include contact information of how to get your questions answered about Bizzell and some of the other branch locations for the university libraries. So Kendall, again, really appreciate your time with joining us today, and everyone else with us, and have a wonderful rest of your week and day.
Thank you all.